Hey friends, Gary here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today I want to try to photograph the cityscape of Yogyakarta right here. We're actually on a building right now at about 3rd floor or 4th floor, and we can have this nice vantage point overlooking the cityscape of Yogyakarta. And I was trying to, exercise a little bit of photography time, just trying to go out, take some pictures regardless of the result. And today I'm bringing the G100 together with some lenses. Right now I have the Panasonic Leica 9mm f1.7, and then later on I will try to switch lenses. I also brought the 12 to 32mm kit lens and the mini 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6 telephoto Lumix lens. I think I want to try to capture some compositions. I already have some ideas in mind, but I don't want to force myself too hard with the expectation of trying to come up with banger pictures all the time. Today's just exercise. I want to try to squeeze my creative juice and try to come up with different compositions, experimenting with foreground stuff like that, and hopefully the pictures will turn out to be interesting. Anyway, enough talking, now let's take some pictures. Alright, for our first composition of the day, I'm thinking of using the wide angle lens, the Panasonic Leica 9mm f1.7 with the G100. Yeah, I think this is the perfect combo to capture, wide angle stuff, especially when you're traveling and when you just wanna, get as many things in the frame as possible, try to get some context, more foreground, that kind of stuff. I think 9mm is the way to go. It's very wide, but not too wide. But anyway, let's set up the camera first. I think I'm going to shoot aperture priority today, and I'm going to set the aperture to about f4 to get more depth of field. We don't really need background blur, that kind of stuff. And the composition is just the cityscape like this, with the busy road, some power lines right there. I think will add into the image. Yeah, let's try to capture some photos with the 9mm. I think it's going to be interesting. And yeah, I will focus on one of the car, single autofocus, so we get about 1600 shutter speed. I think that is fast enough. So yeah, rule of thirds, I don't really want too much of the sky, so something like this I think is good. Yep, nice. First shot of the day. Quite like it. Let's try vertical. Maybe it'll, give me a different kind of vibe and feel. We have another road down here. It's very empty compared to the road right there that's very packed and busy. Yep, something like this maybe. I have one motorcycle passing by. If we have something like a car, nice. I was just talking about car and then suddenly a car passed by. I think that's much better. Motorcycle, nice, yeah. Another motorcycle. Yeah, with objects like car or motorcycle, we can have context, something to give a sense of scale rather than just empty road. That's just not too appealing. Maybe we'll have something else passing by soon. No? Alright, anyway, let's just focus on the main road right there. I want to try to take some more horizontal compositions. Oh, some motorcycle passing by, and I think I captured it as well. Another car passing by, nice. Yeah, the 9mm is so wide. Sometimes that's kind of difficult because if you have too many things on the frame, then it'll look kind of busy and cluttered and you don't really have a strong focus point on your picture. But yeah, something like a point of interest like a car or motorcycle can really add into the image. Anyway, let's try to switch lens. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I have switched to the Panasonic Lumix 12 to 32mm f3.5 to f5.6 kit lens. I think this will be interesting using kit lens. Many people dismiss the kit lens. They say that it's, not good. And I think that's not correct. I think that the 12 to 32 is very underrated. It can take great pictures. You just need to understand its limitation. First of all, you cannot really use this lens for flaring and backlit kind of situation because it'll produce those artifacts, the flares, the ghosting, stuff like that. And then second limitation is that it doesn't have large aperture, only f3.5 to f5.6. That's not impressive and it's not going to give you background blur. But for stuff like this, for scenery in the daylight, I think it is more than enough. Right, let's try to shoot at 12mm. You know, again, very similar composition. I want to try to apply rule of third and put the power line somewhere on the upper right corner. We don't really need that much of the sky today. Something like this. Yep, great combination with the G100 as well. Let's take some pictures. Let's zoom in actually to about 25 millimeter. Yeah, I think this is the sweet spot because now we can start to see the power lines becoming quite prominent in the frame. Something like this. Yep. Beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, I want to try to experiment a little bit. Let's walk, guys. And I saw these plants beside me. I think I want to try to employ these plants into the image. Something like this to help frame the whole scenery, you know, acting as a foreground. Maybe, let's try. Something like this. Does it work? Let's zoom in a bit. That was 12. Now this is about 25. Yeah, it adds some layers, but I don't know if it's working or not. Let's try vertical. Maybe it'll work better. Let's zoom into about 18. Something like this with the power lines. Try to maintain rule of thirds. Not exactly easy, but let's see. With the 9mm, I think it's going to be too much. But with the 12 to 32, maybe we'll have a chance. So let's use this plant right here. Alright, something like this. Still trying to maintain the rule of third thingy. Yep, beautiful. Beautiful. We have a little bit of tree opening right here, you know, revealing the busy road. I think that's really nice. We have some trucks passing by. We have some, you know, big vehicles. I think that'll add into the whole vibe of the image. Nice. Yep, beautiful. Alright, now I've switched to the 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6 mini telephoto lens. This guy right here, my favorite micro four thirds lens ever. It's just so convenient to use, and I think for travel photography it's going to be really great. I've used this guy for travel many times and it worked really well. And anyway, with this lens I want to try to isolate, you know, things in the scenery. So it's just going to be a small frame and we're going to focus on that. We don't really need to have prominent foreground or layers or things like that. Just a nice identifiable object. For example, that power line right there, I think that's really good candidate for the 35 to 100. Anyway, I'm at 70mm f5.6. Nice. Something like this. Yep, beautiful. That layered look, I just love it so much. Beautiful. I think we can have more of the sky. About 2/3 of the image is the sky, because it adds that minimalism. Otherwise we have too much clutter on the ground, you know, too many buildings and trees and stuff like that. Let's zoom in all the way to 100. I want to try to make the power lines even more prominent. Something like this. Yep, beautiful. The leading lines and the layered look of the power lines, just so nice. I think it's kind of beautiful. It's just a mundane little things that we see every day, but it can make such a great photograph. I mean, that's impressive. What about that building right there? Let's try to zoom out to about 35mm. I want to try to just focus on that building. Anyway, let's try to walk here. I want to try to capture it from this position. Can you guys see the building? It was covered a little bit with these plants, but I'm going to try to use an opening right here. Alright, let's try to include a little bit of this, you know, fence, wooden fence right here. Maybe it'll make for a nice foreground. I'm not sure. Let's try to capture it. Nice. Yeah, not really that impressive. Let's zoom in a little bit more to about 50. Please pardon the wind noise. Right, beautiful. Yeah, with the 35 to 100 we can isolate stuff on the foreground, on the background. Anyway, I think this is a better position to capture that building that I was just talking about. Right, we can employ a little bit of the foreground here. Zoom in to about 50. Right, yes, right about there. Yep, with a little bit of foreground, I think it is more interesting. Nice, beautiful. Beautiful, right. Let's see what other building that we can isolate. Maybe that building right there on the left. Yep, that school right there. I think it's a nice candidate for just isolating one certain subject for your photograph with the 35 to 100. This is about 50 millimeter. Using the plants as sort of a foreground and a little bit of this tree to add the frame within the frame kind of look. Beautiful. Let's try vertical. Maybe it'll work better. Nice, beautiful. Beautiful. And that wraps up today's video. So that is all for today's daily vlog. So again, today pictures, I don't think they will be banger, they won't be my keeper pictures, but I really enjoyed the process of learning to come up with different compositions, utilizing things such as the foregrounds, some plants that we have, some fences that we have, so that we can, you know, come up with different layering, composition, come up with ideas of frame within frame, that kind of stuff. And hopefully we can make our photographs a little bit better, employing mundane objects to make things more interesting. Hopefully this has been inspiring, entertaining, and fun, and makes you want to take pictures, go out and have some photography time as well. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I will see you guys on the next video. Don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing to my channel. And also, if you guys would like to support me even more, consider joining my Patreon with the link right here. It's patreon.com/Gary_W. You will get some exclusive benefits, especially being able to download high resolution photos that I captured myself. Hopefully you can use them for desktop background or phone background, and also to participate on future question and answer sessions that I will post on my YouTube channel. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.